Dziękuję, thank you. So, my name's Richard. I'm from England, where the politicians are ugly and stupid, the traffic is terrible, and a significant percentage of the population are racists, and they hate immigrants. And so I decided to move to Krakow in Poland. So, why am I here talking about management? Imagine you're in high school and you're doing a workshop on entrepreneurship, and the entrepreneur on stage says, let me give you a challenge, a management challenge. Imagine you're an ambitious young man or woman, 14, 15-year-olds, and he says, you're in charge of an ice cream business, and you don't like that because he's patronizing you. And then he says, it's the largest ice cream business in the United Kingdom. You're producing 30 tons of ice cream a week. You have 40% market share. You are having flat-out sales, so you're working 3 shifts, 24 hours, 7, and you're walking through the production area. You're feeling pretty good about yourself because you're the boss. And then I want to give you a business challenge. So this is more serious, okay? It's no longer a kiosk selling little ice creams, it's a real business. He says, there's a nasty grinding sound, then a hissing sound, and then one of the big steel pipes pumping ice cream at 200 liters a minute breaks and starts thrashing around like a snake. You're the boss, it's a big company, you're in charge. What are you going to do? And I'm asking you that question. What are you going to do? Well, that's exactly what happened at my high school when I was 14. And the entrepreneur said, if you wait too long in answering that question, you are going to drown in frozen ice cream. You're going to drown in frozen ice cream. And of course, the next thing someone said, maybe switch off the machine. And he said, you're the boss, it's a 2,000-person company. How do you know how to switch off the machine? That's not your job. And that was the moment when I realized that there's a different type of intelligence, the academic intelligence that we get taught at high school and in university is a different type of intelligence to the intelligence you need if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a businessman or a businesswoman. So the question is, how do you get things done? That's tough and it's important. Even more important is how do you get other people to get things done? Now, I came here, I'm not paid to be here. I expect activity. So please, how many people here, could someone define what a leader is or what a manager is? Just anyone here, put your hand up. And I'm expecting activity. This is a workshop. Yes, go ahead.
So the leader goes first, and the team is going after the leader, and the manager is asking the team to go.
Okay, so Krzysztof, can I have a round of applause for Krzysztof for being active, please? Give him a round of applause. Thank you. He said, I've knocked a letter over, so I better put that back. Yeah, the leader is someone who defines the goal and takes you where you want to go. Now, my hypothesis is that we don't get taught leadership at school. A leader is someone who gets a group of other people to work for a common goal willingly. I hope that's not your car. So, I hope we don't have that. I didn't get taught management and I didn't get taught leadership. And I'm here to argue that what I did, learning by doing, is not only, as you can see, painful, expensive and dangerous. It's also wrong. It's wrong if you're an entrepreneur, and it's wrong if you're an investor. Okay, so how many people here are managers or would like to be managers? Please raise your hand, okay? Okay, so for the people who raised their hands, how many of the people who report to you, a manager is someone who manages people, how many of the people who report to you have children? Okay? Okay, and how many of you know the names of the children of the people who report to you? There are many few hands going up. If you don't know the names of the people, of the children, of the people who report to you, you shouldn't be a manager. Why should you, if you believe that they are going to devote themselves to your business and to your company, stay late in the evenings, work weekends, when you don't know the names of the most important people in their lives, you shouldn't be their manager. We don't get taught that. You can't expect people to work for you and for your organization if you don't know them well, okay? So that's number one. You have to know your people. But the first thing you have to do is to manage yourself. How many people here got taught time management and personal organization at high school or in university? How many people got taught it? Almost no one. I got to the end of Cambridge University in the UK, not a single minute on time management, not a single minute on organization. To manage yourself is two things, a diary and a to-do list, okay? If you can manage your time, you measure your life in terms of time. You can manage your life. If you can manage your life, you're going to be okay. It's relatively easy to learn time management, okay? To-do lists and a diary. That's not why I'm here. But managing other people is a lot harder. Why is it hard to manage other people? Can anyone give me an answer? Well, let me answer the question. People are difficult, and a lot of startups think it's enough to have beanbags, a Nintendo, to play pool, to play frisbee on the park, and that's not enough. It's not enough to have goals, KPIs, and it's not enough to be cool. So why isn't that enough? I really would appreciate some feedback. You know, does anyone know why that's not enough? I'll ask the judges. Jess, why is it not enough just to have goals and KPIs?
Because people have their own goals as well and they're irrational.
People are irrational. People are difficult. People are not machines. People are not software, okay? So, first thing, you have to get to know your people. That's number one. You have to know them. You have to spend time with them. Fundamental rule of managing people, at least one 20-minute one-on-one, no one else in the room, once a week, where you listen, you don't talk. You know, if they're going to do a vital function for your company, it wouldn't be a bad thing to know that their son has got leukemia, or their girlfriend has just left them, or their mother is sick, or they're a borderline alcoholic. You'd like to know these things before you're going to give them a role, okay? It matters. You have to get to know your people. It's really important. You have to listen. You have to give them feedback, and you have to coach them. And if you're not capable of doing that, you shouldn't be a manager, and you shouldn't be wandering around InfoShare looking for money. You should be sorting out your management skills. What does the A in MBA stand for? Anyone? Anyone? Louder. Administration. Yeah, it sounds boring. It sounds boring, administration, but imagine you've got a startup and you've gone beyond your MVP, and you need to have your sales manager in Wrocław or in Berlin tomorrow morning to make a presentation about your business. It's no longer you, it's a team. Think of all the things you need to take care of to make sure that's done well. He or she has to have a laptop. He or she has to have licensed software. He or she has to be trained. He or she has to know what the company does. He has to know the product. He has to know what hotel he's allowed to stay in. Can he stay in the Sheraton? It's boring and it's important, but if you don't have the processes to run your business well documented, if people don't know what to do, your business is not going to work. You're going to spend your time answering emails one by one. So, processes. You have to know your people and you have to define processes. Communication, obvious. is so important. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen, listen, talk occasionally. Leadership. I didn't get taught leadership. I learnt it the hard way. If you can't lead, you won't retain your people. The number 1 goal of every manager and leader is to achieve whatever result they're aiming for and to keep their team together. If you have high rotation in your team, that's like churn among your customers. It's incredibly expensive to recruit. It's incredibly expensive to retain. And if those people are rotating because you can't manage them, you don't know what's going on in their lives, you are wasting your investors' money and you're killing the chances of growing a global organization. In Kraków, where I live, a lot of people say, nie chcemy być jak duże korporacje. Comarch, a big, boring corporation, makes 800 to 1,200 million zloty a year profit. I think the guys who are making $1 billion profit, a zloty profit, are the guys who are doing it right. They build their teams and they keep their teams. And obviously, so you have to get good at recruiting. How to do this? Luckily for you guys, we have access to something called the internet. And the best tools on management are run by an ex-army guy who runs manager tools, 2 ex-army guys. I used to be very arrogant and to criticize the military. My grandfather was a soldier, and I didn't like this idea of top-down military, but I was wrong. Soldiers make great leaders, and the reason they make great leaders is because they train everyone in their organization to be leaders for one very simple reason, that at any moment your boss could get a bullet through their head, and unless you know how to take over at that moment, everyone in your unit will die, okay? How many of your businesses are so well organized that your manager could get a bullet through their head now and you would immediately be able to step into their shoes and continue? That's called battle readiness. Battle readiness means that at any moment, a senior officer can arrive in your unit and say, this is a battle readiness inspection. Are we ready to go for war? Okay, who is in your unit? Where are they now? What is their job description? What are their goals? And do you know what they're doing right now? In a lot of cool startups, that kind of... and also, can I see their documents? Can I see their umowa o pracy? Can I see their employment contract? Can I see their responsibilities? Try that in a startup. If your startups can do that, that's much, much more attractive to an investor. Okay, so Manager Tools is run by soldiers. It's for free, and it's a great resource. And I would have saved myself literally tens of millions of zloty, millions of dollars, if I'd had access to Manager Tools 25 years ago when I started my businesses. The E-myth. The E-myth is about processes. The idea is extremely simple. You need to document everything you do more than once. You need to, if you work on your business, you can be successful. If you work in your business, you can't be successful. You can never sell it. You can never hand it over to anyone else because you're too involved in the process. Your goal as a small business or a big business has to be to get it to the stage where the business can run without you. That means you can innovate. That means you can change. So develop your processes all the time. Incredibly boring, incredibly important. And if you want to have a successful business, you need to know about businesses. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, how do you get things done? And know that question and get good at it. That's relatively easy. Getting good at getting other people to get things done is much harder, and the time to start is now. If you don't have a business yet, volunteer. Managing volunteers is much harder than managing people who you can pay. You can fire a volunteer. You can say, I'm no longer going to not pay you. It's a very interesting conversation. I run a TEDx. Managing a TEDx is a tough proposal. Learn how to get things done. Learn how to get other people to get things done. And watch out for the cargo cult. I'm sure a lot of people in this huge, wonderfully organized InfoShare suffer from the cargo cult. Does anyone know what the cargo cult is? Okay, let me tell you. The cargo cult were Polynesian natives who, during the Second World War, saw American military planes flying over the islands, dropping supplies. These guys had never seen airplanes before, so they imagined they were from the gods. And it was a perfectly reasonable thing to do. On the available information, this was the best according to their belief system, it was the best thing they could do. And then they figured out that they were going to copy the American soldiers. And you can see they've got sticks that they painted to be rifles. They're waving American flags. And it worked beautifully. The gods came back and dropped more supplies. Okay? So they were going through, there was no logical process between what they were doing and the outcome. But they thought they had a good process. For a while it worked, and they built, you can Google this, they built bamboo radar towers, because that's what the American soldiers did, and more planes came back and dropped more supplies. The cargo cult startup company is a guy who thinks, or a woman who thinks, I'm going to have meetings, I'm going to send emails, I'm going to buy bean bags, I'm going to make it look like Google, I'm going to do pitches. But they don't do the one thing that really matters, which is create a product or a service of value that people will pay for, and they will pay a lot more than the cost of making it. The final thing I would say is that I'm a Democrat, and I might not be right, okay? So if you reject my idea and you think to yourself, that's all very well, Richard, I've got a different way of running my organization, and my way works better, that's absolutely great. My ideas may be wrong, but if you reject my ideas, you need to come up with a better one, because if you think that you can lead a startup and you can manage a startup just by gut feel, remember the Zeppelin, I would have tens of millions of zloty more than I have if I'd known how to manage when I started. I think finally, I'll just say thanks very much to the organizers of InfoShare, because they've done a really good job. This is an impressive conference, so please give them and maybe me a round of applause.